Superchargers, How They Work by Luis Perez.
Supercharger. Let's start off with a little bit of history on the supercharger. The modern day supercharger was invented by Doug Kirk in 1878. He invented the modern day supercharger and he placed it on a two-stroke engine. He tested, it was a proof of concept, and he won a couple of awards for it. But the real supercharger, modern day supercharger, was produced by Daimler in 1885. He received the German patent for the supercharger, placed it on two production vehicles, and those production vehicles carried the namesake compressor. That compressor namesake is still alive today in many Mercedes-Benz. With that little bit of history, let's talk about a little bit how they work. What do they do and how do they work? A supercharger increases the power output of an engine. How does it do that? It compresses more air into an engine, and in turn, the more air, the higher the density of the air in the engine, you can produce more power by adding more fuel. This increase in power allows the engine to run more efficiently because it burns the fuel more efficiently. It burns the fuel more completely. How does it work? A supercharger spins at a faster rate than the engine. How does it accomplish that? It uses a pulley that is smaller than the crank pulley on the engine. That crank pulley and the pulley on the engine is spun by a belt. It's connected to the engine by a belt, and it's spun at a higher rate. So if, let's say the engine is spinning at 6,000 RPMs, the supercharger could be spinning at 40,000 RPMs. That deviation in engine speed versus supercharger speed creates the compressor power, the PSI, the higher air density. The basic components of a supercharger is the pulley, the belt, and the compressor housing. Advancements in supercharger technology have evolved into something that doesn't actually connect to the engine anymore. It uses the exhaust gases from the engine to spin a turbine that in turn spins the compressor. This allows for less parasitic loss that the supercharger initially had. The supercharger had parasitic loss since it was connected directly to the engine. It would require power to make power, versus the turbocharger, which is the newer version of the supercharger, that does not require power to make power. It uses wasted energy from the engine to produce more energy. Where are superchargers and turbochargers found today? They're found in many cars as power adders. Instead of thinking about fuel efficiency and long range ability of the car being able to go a little bit farther, it is used as a power adder. It increases the power output of the car and the fuel consumption of the car because of it. It also is used in power plants. It is used in power plants for the opposite effect. It makes the power plant more efficient. It makes the power plant use the energy inside the gasoline or the diesel to a higher extent than it would be regularly be able to use in a naturally aspirated example of that engine. It is also used in plane engines. The simple fact of the supercharger increasing the density of the air allows engines to operate at higher altitudes, where they would usually not be able to operate at those altitudes because the density of the air is so low that the combustion process cannot occur. It is also used in boat engines. It's used in boat engines to increase the efficiency of the boat engines and increase the range of the boat engines. When you increase the efficiency of an engine, it can go farther on 1 gallon of gas. It also increases the power of the engine to allow the boat to have that initial thrust to come out the water. The future of supercharging and turbocharging. In these trying times, with fuel prices going up as they are, a lot of motor companies are using turbochargers to increase the efficiency of vehicles. They increase the efficiency by two ways. One, the gas used in a turbocharged vehicle is more completely burned because there is more air added into the engine. Also, they increase the efficiency of the vehicle by allowing car manufacturers to use smaller engines in bigger vehicles, but then add a turbocharger to increase the output of that smaller engine. So what does that do? That allows that vehicle, while it's cruising, to burn less gas. But when the power is needed, it spins up the turbine from the turbocharger or the supercharger and increases the output of the engine to that of a car with a larger engine. So this terminology, you can hear it a lot in a lot of eco-boosting, what they're doing with the Ford motor vehicles, and what they're doing with a lot of BMWs. They're providing more power for the vehicles from the turbocharging. We also have what they call a twin scroll turbo now, which provides relief from one of the problems that early turbochargers and superchargers had, which was the turbo lag, where the engine would not be able to spin the turbocharger quickly enough to power the vehicle. So with these twin scrolls, there's actually two turbochargers connected to each other, increasing the responsiveness of the engine. This allows the turbo use in engines such as truck engines, where you're required to pull a lot of heavy load. In the end, turbochargers have advanced a lot since 1885, and they're going to advance a lot in the future through the active electric turbocharging and twin charging, which is putting a turbo and a supercharger in the same engine, producing more power. Thank you for your time, and I know this was a crash course, but this is basics of supercharging.
Thank you.